Do you go by Sprag or the Sprag? I don't quite know where you came from, but I imagine you know how to ride a bicycle, yeah? There's also some pretty big jumps on a lot of these trails. Are you cool with that? There's some kind of gnarly trail riding around here. Huh, closed book. Well, I think Rich must have thought about all that in the interview, but for today's project, I think we'll just stick with pavement. If you can go faster on your bike without any additional work, that seems like a no-brainer, but it also might be too good to be true. So, to find out what this means in the real world, I've enlisted the help of our new test pilot, the Sprag. So here's what we're gonna do. I've got two nearly identical rear wheels. They've got DT Swiss EX511 rims, Supreme silver spokes, brass nipples, and Maxxis DHR2 tires. They're both all new components. Everything is the same except for the rear hub. On this one in my hand, I've got the Hope Pro 5 hub, that's Hope's new hub. And over there, I've got the Pro 4 hub mounted up to your bike there. What I'm gonna do is send you down this hill 3 times per wheel. We're gonna record a few different measurements, and we're gonna find out whether there is any noticeable real-world difference between the drag in these two hubs. If you've been mountain biking for a while, you've likely heard of Hope Tech components. This legendary brand has been designing and manufacturing their hubs and brakes in-house in Barnoldswick, England since 1989. That was the year before I was born. Now that was a long time ago, but long-lasting components are what this brand is known for. The Hope Pro 4 Evo, which I have here, was released in early 2016 and is still a mainstay today.
When we first set off, I mean, we had a goal. I mean, they were massively into weight. Things had to weigh as little as possible and what have you, but my philosophy has always been to build something that lasts with a minimum amount of weight that you need to put into it to make it reliable. We want somebody to buy one of our hubs and I want it to last them 5 years. They shouldn't need another hub until a new hub comes out.
Hope felt that they reached their weight and durability goals with the Pro 4. So with the Pro 5, they set their sights on different goals. I'll get to all of these, but what jumped out at me is this.
Reducing the drag of our drivetrain mechanism was a key design goal on the Pro 5 that has real-world riding benefits. The combination of new sealing, ball and ratchet geometry, and spring design has allowed us to greatly reduce the drag compared to the Pro 4.
What we're gonna have you do is come down this hill, hands off the brakes. We're gonna do 3 rounds per wheel. We're gonna take some measurements, see how far you went, see how long it took you, to see whether these differences in rolling resistance or resistance in the hub actually makes a real-world difference. Now, while we're getting set up here, let's get back to the lab and see what Hope actually changed in the new Pro 5. Working our way from the outside in, the first thing we're going to encounter is this green seal. Now on both the Pro 4 hub and the Pro 5 hub, this is securely pressed into the hub shell. So much so that it's going to be fairly hard for dirt and grime to work its way in on the outside. Now it's the inside of the seal, where it surrounds the driver itself, where things have changed. On the inner side of the seal, you have to draw a balance between making something that will keep dirt and debris out of the pawls and drive ring and making something that won't create a lot of drag. On the Pro 4, this is done by trapping the seal in a groove around the free hub. It's free floating, so it shouldn't create much drag, and it does overlap over the seal, so it shouldn't let in much debris, but I wouldn't exactly call it fully sealed. The Pro 5 deals with this by adding 2 new elements. This inner O-ring and this black aluminum seal cover. Now, the green seal still floats freely around the free hub, giving you that zero drag situation, but this black seal cover presses onto that O-ring, making the avenue for entry for dirt and debris much, much smaller than on the previous version. I personally also think it looks much nicer. Not that you'll really see this once your cassette is installed. First things first, a start line. We're gonna start on a downslope so you don't have to pedal at all. And I'm thinking right here. Start. All right, now aside from distance to where you stop, we're also gonna see if we can get a max speed from Strava. So I'll start that now and give you that. And I'm also gonna see about recording the time of each run. We're gonna do 3 runs per hub, 6 runs total, and then average it all out and see what we come up with. And her feet are up. Time is on. Here she comes. She's gaining speed. She's in her speed tuck. She's through the gate. She's coming down the runway. Now she's in the flat bottom. And feet down. For Pro 4, we're doing purple. Let's see what happens on round 2. She's through the gate. She's being chased by a squirrel. She's lost the squirrel. Feet down, 35.99 seconds, nearly identical. High five, no, oh, almost had you that time. I'll get you one of these things. One more test with the Pro 4 and then switch wheels to the Pro 5. All right. Oh, wow. That was the best speed tuck. And feet down. Same amount of time though. I'll go retrieve the Hope Pro 5 wheel, then we'll repeat this test and see what the difference is. Although this new Labyrinth seal does look to create a much better seal, I didn't at first understand how it created less drag. They both, as far as I could tell, seem to be free floating. I actually asked Hope about this, and they said that in fact, the old Pro 4 seal can sometimes contact the driver, whereas the new Pro 5 seal will not do that under normal operating conditions. Either way, I don't think this is going to be where we see massive improvements in rolling resistance. 25 PSI in each tire using the same pump. They're both brand new tires. They both have inner tubes in them. So the only thing that's changing on this setup from trial to trial is the hub. They're both brand new hubs. One of them had grease in the pawls. I removed that. So the only variable that's changing, other than maybe wind or something like that, should be the hub itself. So we've sent the Sprag back to the top of the hill with the Pro 5 mounted up to their transition patrol, and let's get them rolling. Here they come. They're approaching where the previous tests finished. Oh wow, and it is looking very, wow. All right, they got there almost a second faster, but they did not get further than with the Hope Pro 4. Interesting result. The Hope Pro 4 has 44 points of engagement. That is accomplished by running 4 pawls that all engage simultaneously into a 44-tooth drive ring. They are pushed into place by big metal springs, which are both the reason why this hub is so bomb-proof and why it is so loud. Now with the Hope Pro 5, Hope has bumped up the engagement to 108 points. That's every 3.3 degrees of rotation by using 6 pawls instead of the previous 4 that engage 2 at a time in a 54-tooth ring. 2 times 54 is 108. Does something need to be bomb-proof to be durable though? No, it doesn't. Look at the Industry 9 Hydra Hub, which uses 6 different pawls that all engage 1 at a time in a 115-tooth drive ring to give you 690 points of engagement. Would you want to tow a train with it? Probably not. Is it durable? Yes, it is. Making their way up, will they get past where the Hope Pro 4 did? We will see. They're slowing considerably. Not even close. Well, Sprag, did you pull a fast one on us, or is there something else going on here? There's a lot of opinions out there as to whether more engagement is better. I bet a lot of people today would say that 44 is too few, but that 108 is just fine. Chris King's hubs, for example, have 72 points of engagement. I personally find that I tend to just get used to whatever I'm riding, and it's sort of a non-issue. Now, all else equal, having more pawls rubbing on the inside of the drive ring is going to create more drag. So what else has Hope done to improve that? As far as I can tell, the construction of the pawls between the Pro 4 and the Pro 5 is identical, but the spring design has changed dramatically. On the Pro 5, the width of the spring is the same as the width of the pawl versus the Pro 4, where the spring was much narrower. Hope claims that this more even pressure distribution will decrease wear. There's also a large cutout in the center of the new spring. I suspect this is where the majority of the reduction in drag is coming from. For those of you who don't like loud hubs, this is also going to make the Pro 5 significantly quieter than the Pro 4. Let's see what that sounds like. The Pro 4 and the Pro 5. Test number 3 on the Hope Pro 5 and this bizarre experiment that has totally confused and bewildered us. And, oh, here we go, that seems more like it. Now, we've verified that there is no brake rub happening with the rotor. And there was certainly no wind that time. So these results are throwing us for a loop. This is not what we expected out of this result. Reducing drag isn't the only place Hope focused their attentions when designing the Pro 5. I think of particular note is the larger bearing that they've managed to put on the outboard bearing of the driver. They've done this by stepping down the inner axle, as you can see here. This allows for a bearing where the outer diameter is the same, but the inner diameter is smaller, which allows you to fit bigger ball bearings inside of there. This is going to result in longer life for the bearings, so longer service intervals and less headache for you. As per usual with Hope, these hubs are easily serviced at home without any proprietary tools. They're offered in a number of different standards along with different end cap conversion kits. You can get them in a number of different spoke drilling patterns, 6-bolt center lock brakes, and a ton of different colors. And of course, they're loaded up into the Fanatik wheel builder so that you can hop onto our website and design the wheel set that you want for your bike. There is no contest when you spin the Pro 5 versus the Pro 4 in the stand. We figured it would be the same in the real world. That was the question we set out to answer. Well, as experiments often do, the answer surprised us. In this case, it surprised us a lot. In averaging out the 3 tests we did with each rim, we found that the Hope Pro 4 traveled an average of 282 feet, rounded to the nearest whole number, whereas the Pro 5 traveled an average of 276 feet, so 6 feet less. They both did so in an average of just under 36 seconds, the Pro 4 in 35.9 seconds, and the Pro 5 in 35.19 seconds. Now, their average max speeds, as recorded by Strava, were almost identical, 35.23 for the Pro 4 and 35.2 miles per hour for the Pro 5. So not only did the Pro 5 not roll further or faster than the Pro 4, it actually rolled less distance without reaching the same max speed. Now, these results are so close, and we did so few trials, that the results are basically a tie. There's no significant difference here. But we had expected the Pro 5 to win by a mile. Now, what we're doing here amounts to elementary school science. It's not rigorous by any measure. I do want to take a look at a few things we could have improved upon before we conclude this video. Firstly, we could have completely eliminated the rear brake rotor as any type of variable by simply removing it. After our surprising Pro 5 test, the first one we did, I did double check that it wasn't rubbing, and it wasn't in any way. But sometimes when you sit down on your bike, things shift a little, and there may have been a slight amount of rotor rub that wasn't present on the Hope Pro 4. I don't think that's the case, but we could have just eliminated that variable by removing the rotor completely. Secondly was tire selection. We did use 2 brand new, same model tires, both with inner tubes to prevent any air leakage, and both inflated with the exact same pump to 25 psi. In retrospect, I think it would have been better to use the exact same tire on both rims and check the pressure with an electric pressure gauge. Third, and I think this may have had the most potential for altering our test results, was the wind. In the morning, when we tested the Pro 4, there was absolutely no wind at all. In the evening, when we tested the Pro 5, the wind had picked up a little. After our first test, I did notice this and make sure that none of the trees were moving when we continued our testing. But it's not something that I could have controlled for perfectly. I'm pretty confident we did a good job, but you just never know. Here's the thing though, all these variables were controlled to a much greater degree than they ever would be on a real mountain bike ride. And that's what we set out to answer. Does the decreased resistance in the Pro 5 hub have any real-world riding implications? The answer, it seems to me, is no. If 1 or 2 psi difference or an imperceptible amount of rotor rub or a tiny bit of wind is gonna completely eliminate any advantages that this has, when you're actually out riding on trail, it's just not gonna matter. Does this mean that you shouldn't buy the Hope Pro 5 if you're looking for a new rear hub? No, not at all. This hub builds upon one of the most successful hubs we've ever sold, the Hope Pro 4, by improving it both objectively, increasing the size of the bearings in the driver and improving the sealing, and subjectively by making it look better, I think, making it a quieter hub, and more than doubling the points of engagement. Now, do you want it to be louder? Just run a lighter free hub grease. Do you want less engagement to potentially improve pedal kickback? Use the steel e-bike driver that they offer for this hub, or just remove 3 of the pawls. You're still getting an incredible hub that was built by people as passionate about bikes as you and me, and for a price that beats much of the competition. I think the takeaway from today's test was that if you keep your bearings in good working order, you shouldn't be worrying about drag from your hub. Now, I'm curious to hear from you about what variables we may not have considered in this experiment, or how we could have improved upon it. If you have any questions about the Hope Pro 5 hub that we didn't answer, also let us know in the comments below. And if you want to build up a cool wheel set like this one next to me, hit the link in our bio to head over to fanaticbike.com's wheel builder tool. It's pretty cool. It builds up right in front of you, and then you just click order and it gets shipped to your door. If you like watching these videos, please do hit the subscribe and like button and click that little bell so you get a notification when we put a new one out. That's all for today. Thanks for watching, y'all. We'll see you next time.